Alright, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the absolute ultimate superpowered match. Close your eyes. Now imagine waking up in a completely different world. This time, you're not watching the story, you're living it. You take your seat in a massive stadium, and instantly you feel it. It's this energy you can't quite put your finger on. It's not exactly excitement, it's honestly more like dread, completely wrapped up in a layer of intense curiosity. Tonight, Team Avengers isn't facing an alien invasion. They're not staring down an army or some colossal monster. They are facing one man, a single, totally motionless armored figure draped in green and silver, standing absolutely perfectly still right at midfield. The entire team of heroes is warming up all around him, filling the air with all this dynamic movement, while he just stands there, looking like he's already decided this match doesn't even require his full attention. Suddenly, the sharp shriek of the whistle blows, and the flying armored hero, he wastes absolutely zero time. He wants to test this villain immediately, blasting the ball forward with a blinding, repulsor charge strike that is meant to end this game before it even really gets started. But the green and silver figure, he doesn't dive. Actually, he doesn't even move to intercept it in any way you would normally expect. He literally just raises one hand. And just like that, the highly charged ball stops dead in the air. It's hovering a few feet away from his glove as if gravity itself had to ask his permission first. The entire stadium falls into this dead, breathless silence. I mean, nobody warned the heroes he could do that. Then, he just lets the ball drop to the turf, taps it once with his armored boot toward an empty stretch of the field, and speaks for the very first time. His voice is incredibly calm, almost bored by the spectacle, really. He says, "I've already calculated 17 ways this match ends. Only one of them favors you."
Okay, so let's dive into how this plays out, because the dynamic completely shifts here. The hammer-wielding Thunder God, who is never one to be intimidated by a little arrogance, just roars and charges forward. Lightning is crackling wildly all around his hammer, and the sheer force of his approach is literally shaking the ground beneath him.
But instead of bracing for impact, the villain simply steps aside. He doesn't block, he doesn't counterattack, he just shifts his weight at the exact, mathematically perfect moment, letting the Thunder God's massive momentum carry him harmlessly right past. It's honestly as if the armored genius had measured the precise angle of the charge before the hero even took his first step. So seeing raw power fail, the shield-bearing Patriot tries a much more measured approach. He barks out orders, organizing this beautifully coordinated tactical press. The goal here is simple, but usually super effective. Box the villain into a corner, cut off his passing lanes, and leave him with absolutely no easy way out of the pressure. But again, the villain doesn't panic. Instead, he casually threads the ball through a gap in their defense that is so infinitesimally narrow, it really shouldn't even exist. He perfectly finds the stealthy fighter completely unmarked on the opposite side of the field. And the craziest part? He does it without so much as glancing in her direction first. But wait a second, she's not on his team. The horrific realization hits the heroes about half a second too late. He's been reading their formation this entire match. He wasn't just reacting to them, he was predicting exactly where they would instinctively move to cover him, knowing precisely where they'd leave themselves totally exposed. As you can imagine, the frustration on the field is just boiling over at this point. The giant green strongman, absolutely done with all this subtlety and strategy, completely abandons the playbook. He lets out a deafening roar and charges directly at the armored figure, massive fists raised, ready to crush whatever stands in his way. Now, for the very first time in this match, we actually see a shift in the villain's posture. Something almost like tension crosses his metallic mask. But, and this is super crucial to note here, it isn't fear, not at all. It's his genius intellect, his sheer calculation, working absolute overtime to process the incoming mass and velocity. And this brilliantly illustrates his terrifying capability. He sidesteps at the last possible microsecond, utilizing just a tiny precision burst of repulsor-like energy from his gauntlet. You see, he doesn't try to stop the giant, he just redirects his momentum. That tiny little nudge sends the massive green hero crashing harmlessly right into the sideline barrier, entirely missing the villain. So the score remains stubbornly locked at 0, but something fundamental has definitely shifted in the way the heroes are moving now. You can really see it in their spacing. There's far less reliance on individual brilliance and a sudden emergence of genuine, deeply coordinated teamwork. They are actively adjusting as a single unit to close the exact gaps he's been exploiting all game.
Recognizing that they need to completely change the paradigm, the Patriot deliberately calls a highly risky sacrifice play. He purposefully leaves an obvious opening in their defense. Now, this is dangerous, sure, but it's specifically designed to act as bait, forcing the villain into making a read that is finally, for once, somewhat predictable.
The suspense here is absolutely palpable. The armored genius surveys the field, he sees the opening, and he takes it. For the very first time in this entire grueling match, he actually takes the bait and fully commits to the pass he believes is perfectly safe.
But it's a trap. The absolute second he commits, the real stealthy fighter darts out from her blind spot and intercepts the ball incredibly cleanly. It's this beautiful twist of irony, really. She anticipated his passing patterns exactly the way he'd been anticipating their defensive formations all match long. The armored figure goes completely dead still. Even the usual hum of his armor seems to just quiet down as he stands there for a long, drawn-out moment. He is intensely studying the play that just unfolded against him, and something totally unreadable, maybe a mix of surprise, perhaps some respect, or even just calculating anger, crosses behind his cold metallic mask.
Let's move to the final moments and see how this builds, because time is almost out. The stealth fighter is driving the ball forward all by herself right now, carrying the hopes of her entire team on this single, desperate breakaway.
But the villain is right there, closing the distance with that exact same terrifying calm. He isn't rushing, he isn't panicking at all. You can practically see the math scrolling across his visor as he calculates the exact, unavoidable geometry of the tackle he needs to make to end this game.
They meet right at the edge of the goal box. She fakes left, but he doesn't bite. His read is just too perfect, so she abruptly cuts right instead. For one agonizingly suspended second, time seems to just stop entirely. It's utterly impossible to tell whether his analytical read was just too good or whether her final desperate deception actually found the one single gap his masterful calculations failed to account for.
The shot goes up. He dives, stretching his armored frame to its absolute physical limit. The entire stadium of spectators rises to their feet in deafening unison, everyone just breathless for this final fraction of a second before the whistle finally sounds.
Brute, coordinated teamwork and cold, unyielding genius collide one last explosive time directly over the goal line. The impact is absolutely massive, leaving even the world's smartest, most arrogant villain completely uncertain for one brief, humbling moment of exactly how this match actually ends.
That is exactly what it would feel like. Facing an opponent who has already calculated your every conceivable move and finding out in the final second if pure, unified teamwork is actually enough to surprise him. So I have to ask you, do you think anyone can really truly outsmart Dr. Doom? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deeply analyzed crossover explainers just like this one.